Right, looks like I'm live. Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Coffee with Craig. This is where I talk about the future, predictions, and I take some of your questions at the end and review some of the things I've already spoken about regarding my predictions of the way ahead, and hopefully give you some more insights. So this video is being made on the 22nd of February 2023, so it will be sort of my March type of time. I try to bring at least one out every month. Anyway, welcome to Coffee with Craig. Hang on. Here we go. Again, welcome to Coffee with Craig. Well, there we go. Hi again. There's always a problem, isn't it, when you try to go live like this? You know, you do stick your neck out. You go, one day I'm going to be sat here in the wrong clothes or something. Anyway, it's always fun. But yeah, so hi and welcome. I know some of you are just joining me now. I can see you coming in with the comments. I'm going to take your questions in a minute. I'm going to make a few comments first about things that I'm seeing ahead, a couple of things that have come to me. Something also that I've been discussing with one of the mentors, one of the people that comes to me who is also working with me, tuning in. And so I quite often tune in with other people together. And sometimes things come, and it was this interesting because some of these have come simultaneously. So, so these are some of my thoughts. Okay, right. First one. One of my last videos, I think it was a few weeks ago now, I spoke about the problems with the sun and things like this and solar flares and this type of thing and the danger of meteors. And I picked that up as an important topic. And I said about this at the beginning of the year, that this was going to 2023. I said in 2022, again, this would have been, I said that 2023 was going to be a problematic year for the sun, our interaction with the sun, and particularly with solar flares that could kind of cause a lot of issues. Well, I think it was yesterday or possibly Monday, spammer. This is what I say about going live. I never use that line. And let it go. Sorry about this. Go away. I should have turned that off, shouldn't I? I could answer it and we could get a spam call, couldn't I? No, I'm not going to do that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So the solar flare issue is something that I've been... Oh, shut up. Answer it. Good. Sorry about that. I usually take the thing out of the room that I forgot. Right. So welcome to Bungling with Craig. Okay, so the solar flare issue was something I spoke about a few weeks ago, and I said that it would be a problem, but only on this week. Again, I'm talking here on Wednesday, but I think it was Monday. There was some stuff in the press again about solar flares from the sun and giant solar flare heading towards the Earth. Could this be what I was seeing? And what I did say is I felt it would cause some blackouts. Now, what do I mean by that? Probably blackouts to something like the parts of the internet. Parts of our communication systems. I don't see the whole lot coming down. I mean, there is a possibility that solar flares could be so big that they could cause major disruptions to the world. Could be massive, even in the long-term future. We could maybe have something someday that can knock the whole lot out. So I think this might be a little bit of a warning ahead of possibilities of potential vulnerability in the future. because I feel we're going to get something like that soon. It's kind of heading towards us. The scientists haven't said anything about it, which makes me wonder. But I think we might get some disruption to satellites, either in this one or sometime this year. I think we're going to get something like that this year. So expect some blackout type thing. And of course, these things are a bit worrying when it comes to the security of our systems, because, you know, all the military stuff uses the satellites. And could somebody maybe take advantage of that, like Putin or Xi Jinping, take advantage of our vulnerability? Because we're obviously in a very, very dangerous time when it comes to the dangers of being on the edge of a World War III sort of feel, you know, and you can see my other video about that. So that's one of my thoughts. And I'm just going to, just before I give you something else that I feel is important, that I want to say that I feel is coming soon, just going to look at a couple of other things. Well, I was also talking a lot at the beginning of the year. You remember I said there would be food shortages. Funnily enough, we started to get the beginnings of that now a little bit. We've got people have said that there's been quite a lot of food shortages in Australia. There's been some food shortages here in the UK in a lot of the fresh goods coming in, and they're saying, for example, you can't get tomatoes at the moment for love nor money in most of the stores, or they've rationed them. So we're starting to get the edge of that. And of course, South Korea's got serious food shortages, but that's kind of a different issue, because, you know, they're refusing to take the poisoned honey or the poisoned sweets of the Westerners. But, you know, there is obviously issues there already. So this is something that I predicted already for this year. I'm just saying here, we are seeing in the press the beginnings of some of the things that I've said, and I think those things will escalate. Right. Now, a long while ago, it wasn't last year, it wasn't the year before, but I did make a big prediction thing about saying that I felt there would be a giant ice shelf that would disrupt the world at some stage in the future. And now they're talking about it very seriously, that there's a likelihood of, it's called Thwaite's Glacier, I believe, that is showing signs that it could break up and could break up shipping. I don't quite see it yet. I think we're talking about, probably going into next year, 2024 time. I got a sense of around the new year feeling, but I think we're going to see a big ice shelf break. And that's going to be quite important for the time ahead. So an shelf break ahead, which is going to disrupt shipping and cause more problems for global warming, of course. Now, I also said that this year, 2023, would be the beginning of the end of woke. I'll make a complete video about woke later on, actually, because I might have to make that on another channel. I'll probably might open up on another one of these more tolerant channels, because I don't want to sort of upset my YouTube channel, of course. And there's a few other issues I'd like to talk about. I'm going to talk about Freemasonry and things as well on that. So I'll post those videos on other channels, but I'll also bring them all together on the patron pages. So those of you who are patrons can get the links easy enough when I do this. It's not there yet, but I want to do that. So just saying that's something for the way ahead. But end of woke, I said, for this year. And it's happening, isn't it? One of the great queens of woke, Nicola Sturgeon, who was, those in America won't know who she is, I expect, but she's head of the Scottish National Party and governs sort of Scotland, just resigned, and has been a very vocal sort of critic of of a United Kingdom, and feels Scotland should break away, basically. But I mean, she's completely gone down the pan with her career, because she started talking about things about enforcing rules to let children choose their gender at too early an age, and it basically blew up in her face, and she's had to jump before she was pushed. And this is one of those situations where it's, you know, go woke, go broke, because I feel that I've been saying this year is going to be a time when we start to see people pulling back from what, personally, I think has turned from what you could say is initially a good cause into something that's completely wacky, crazy, and lost its path in such a way that it's become a madness. But I'm going to talk about all that on another video. And we also see, of course, South Park come along and give a kick at our beloved royals there in America. And again, this is again a reaction against wokeism. You know, comedians are finding it extremely hard to kick wokey people. I mean, I noticed they haven't been kicking us psychics much lately, but then they should be allowed to, you know, because we should be allowed to, you know, have a go at everybody. Everything should be up for ridicule, really, because that's how we can answer and ask. We can talk about things that are outside of all the rules that say we mustn't talk about these things. King Lear had his Joker, and he was his conscience. He was his voice of wisdom that came often in a silly form. So wokeism is very dangerous at destroying a sense of humor. I'll put all that up later. I'm going to do a whole video on that. So that was just saying it's another one of those things that are sort of coming in at the moment. So here's me sort of going on about all predictions I've got right. I'm sure things are going to get wrong as well. But okay. Another one I was talking about is that I saw, now again, it wasn't the beginning of this year I said it. I said it a little bit further back. But I said I see a time when we would all have our own personal digital ID. That it's like having our own domain name. I described it. I think it's like having our own. I said it would be based on a national insurance number, right? So it's like that is your, you know, xyzw number.com is your domain, as it were, for your national insurance number, which would become your email address and your online digital identity. And Tony Blair, who Americans might remember from the past, was one of our prime ministers, more of a left-wing prime minister. He's not in power now, but he's now been making moves that is pushing for us to have a digital ID. So that was something I was talking about, and I actually think this is something that is really important for the world. Actually, it's got its problems as well. Of course, it has, because, you know, being anonymous on the web is sometimes helpful. We don't want everybody to know everything about us, but that's one of the things I think might help stop the dangers of spam, that help stop multiple personality, multiple avatars on like, you know, you go into Facebook with 10 different identities. We can't have that sort of thing. We need people to be able to stand. If you say something horrible about me, we should know it comes from you, not hiding behind some hidden persona of some username. So I actually think it's quite a good thing, but obviously it also has its dangers. But that was something I saw coming. And I had a few emails from someone today saying about some of the things I said would happen to Twitter have happened this week. Okay, I didn't follow that up, but I am grateful to anybody that sends in emails to me or drops a comment, particularly if you drop an email through my website at psychics.co.uk. It's always helpful. And I thank those of you that have been doing that, because I can't keep an eye on everything that's going on in the news. Then one other thing also, just before I go to another prediction that I'm going to make in a moment. I said about the Russia and China would form a military alliance. Now, if you have to look back through some of my videos to find that one, because it wasn't, I didn't say it immediately, but I've said it a number of times in the past, that ultimately on the longer term future of the world, we've got to be very, very careful of a military alliance between Russia and China that starts off as a trade alliance and ends up as a military type of alliance. Now, they're talking about China offering to give armaments to Russia, which would completely change the whole ball game in Ukraine. Of course, if you've got thousands, for example, of Chinese drones, that could cause serious problems for the war going on there. So we're seeing a hidden war going on here, aren't we? And if this dangerous military pact that I talked about before does come about, then we could see some very serious things. And you will remember, if you follow me closely, that I said that this year in November, this is when we get the serious period where I'm concerned about what's going to happen with Taiwan. So is this what I've been talking about here. Is this a build-up? Are we sort of is China testing the waters, ready for an invasion with Taiwan? Let's give some armaments to the Russians and see what happens. Let's send these balloon things over Canada and America and see what happens, you know. So I think there's a bit of testing the waters going on there, ready for a potential invasion of Taiwan this year, possibly towards the end, at a time when America is perhaps a bit weak, with thoughts of elections and all those sort of things beginning to sort of rear. And this is the other one I felt, and this one concerns me, and I think we're going to see the end of Putin. Not Putin. We will see the end of Putin. So Biden soon. In the coming period, I'm talking now in March, just before March. That I feel that in about the next 3 months or so, I'm seeing Putin coming out of office. Or let me say it this way, not strictly out of office. I feel Putin will, President Biden will become unavailable. Put it that way. It will become unavailable in the next few months. So during the summer period of 2023. Now, whether this is an illness or something else that's taken him out, but he's out of the picture, I feel, for a period of time. Now, it could be illness. I don't see an assassination around him, but I feel as if there's some possible political things going in the background, but he's out of the picture. And I worry about this because this is at a time when we have all this new rumblings going on in both Ukraine and, coming up that time, a build up towards the Taiwan crisis that I predict. Also, I was trying to say Putin and Biden at the same time, because also in my thoughts, I've been getting pictures of Putin going. Now, at the moment, he's all guns blazing, isn't he? And so is Biden, all guns blazing. They're trying to sort of stand up to one another. But I get the feeling there's a lot more going on in the background in Russia than we've been shown. And that something is going on in the background there that might pull him out of power too. But Putin will go later than Biden. So we see Putin still in power. He'll go later than Biden, but I feel he's on his way out, possibly this year. Anyway, the good news was this year we got rid of Nicola Sturgeon. And just some final thoughts as well. You know, I make these predictions and I try to sort of help us to see sometimes the bigger picture a bit with these things as well, you know, because I learned most of my early spiritual work within spiritualism, where I learned to become a medium and learned to develop my abilities. And one of the things we talk about there is this idea of eternal progress open to every human soul, that each of us has a kind of eternal progress. And I think when we look at all the worries and problems of the world, we've got to look at the bigger picture always, you know. All of us here are part of an eternal progress. We're all part of an eternal development of spirituality. We're all part of an eternal flowering of consciousness. So all these things that happen aren't going to make the human race go away. We're not going to, I don't see a time when everybody's throwing nuclear bombs at each other to the point that we're battling the next war, as Einstein said, with sticks and stones. We will make it, I feel. And the reason we'll make it is because consciousness has been here billions of years developing, and it's come to a fore in the human form, and consciousness ultimately continues in the spirit as well. So we're just a conduit for consciousness, and that's not going to go away. Consciousness is like the top tier, and the rest of it, the world, is the secondary tier. Yeah. Anyway, those are my thoughts. So I don't want to worry everybody when I say these things. Let these things happen in the world. What's more important is that we develop our spirituality, that we become bigger people, we become greater people, we become more spiritual people. And that's the reason and purpose we've been put on this earth, because we're only all here for a short period of time. 2 days ago, I went to a funeral of one of my best friends through life. I've known him since I was a teenager, and you look, makes you think about it, and you think, yeah, we're only all here for the twinkling of an eye. We shouldn't worry about this world. Actually, we should just pass through it. Life is a bridge, they say. Pass over it, don't build on it, and understand that the reason and purpose we're put here is to develop, to awaken, to become fully what we are, to flower. And all the other things that go on in the world that take our attention and we worry about, actually, they're really tiny things. Anyway, I've been blabbering on, and I know we got a lot of comments coming in now. So thank you for your comments. I haven't been able to keep an eye on them yet. And you've been making comments as well as things. But let's have a few thoughts and questions. If you've got a question particularly, type either a capital Q or the word question in front of your comment, and that helps me to identify the live ones coming in. And don't forget, put your comments afterwards, on the main page here. After I've gone live, what do you think? Do you think Biden's going to go soon? Do you think there's going to be a Russia-Chinese military alliance? What do you think about ID cards? Are they safe? Is it the end of woke? Or am I conning myself with this? Did you like Nicola Sturgeon, and will someone nicer, better perhaps, replace her? And what about food shortages? Are there food shortages in your area? And again, solar flares. That's quite a good question, actually. Will anti-Semitism ever go away? Thank God they've started to try to strip it out of what we call the Labour Party here in the UK. It's been quite a difficult thing to sort out. But the thing is, I don't think it ever will go away, because it's not just about anti-Semitism. There's always this thought of us and them. And anti-Semitism was one of the first sort of negatives that we had. Many people have the same idea against Islam. Many people have the same problems against race. Many problems with religion or anything that's different to you. So unfortunately, it's a human trait. But perhaps in the longer term, we'll start to think much more in terms that we are one human race, that there's no nations, there's just humankind. I think we will in time. Okay, I'm catching you. Think. Where's that one? Hang on, sorry. So I'm trying to catch him in time. Just a minute. I'm trying to catch that one about the stock market. Sorry, you're coming in so fast. I tried to click on. So sorry, I didn't even read that last one. Will the stock markets crash if Taiwan is invaded? This was another thing, actually, I put as another prediction for you here, actually, because I have a feeling we're going to get a bit of a drop in Bitcoin soon, probably this month. Now, it's not a crash, bang. It's not going to be a complete crash. Bit of a dip in their value this month. And November time, I would be very cautious with your Bitcoin. And I don't mean Bitcoin, just Bitcoin. I mean cyber currencies. I always say it wrong. The cyber currencies, generally, I feel in October. We got the equivalent of Black October, like we had for the world currencies those years ago. Similar thing. I have concerns about that. So that's a similar thing. Again, I feel we got problems around November time. It won't tank completely, but I see it's a serious problems. That's linking with the Nicola Sturgeon thing. I've said I don't feel Scotland will ever become independent. I know that I know that's not good news for many Scots, but I feel that it is generally good news for everybody. I think Scotland being part of a group of us, I think Scotland and the UK and England and the rest, we all work best. We're like a symbiosis, we work well together. It's like, that's like a that creates a stronger thing than we are independently. So I don't see Scotland becoming independent. Do we have to worry about Korea becoming one North Korean, South Korean? I think one day we're going to see the unification of the two countries, but we've still got a bit of a while to go yet. Again, Kim Jong-il, I get him muddled up. I feel he's going to be overthrown ultimately by his own people. We have a serious situation there at the moment. People are going to be starving in North Korea. And here we are, starving population, a volatile Taiwan area and South Pacific all around there in terribly worrying times. And the China Seas, I mean, and we've got all that happening with this nutcase in charge. I think ultimately he'll be pulled out of power just in the nick of time. I think he'll try at some point to fire a missile at Japan, actually, right over onto Japan. And I'm seeing Japan ultimately becoming a nuclear power, nuclear weapons in Japan. I mean, not another nuclear hit on Japan, I'm saying here, but some very serious times ahead with that guy. Again, I don't think it's right around the corner. This might be next year, but and there's going to be some very serious issues happening there. Yeah, well, I got to agree with you. I mean, Tony Blair, I mean, you might as well say Margaret Thatcher was pushing it, wouldn't you, as well? Because they're the people at the extremes of politics. I personally think he should have kept his nose out of Europe and all the rest of it. And he often has more to say than he should. But, I mean, they've been used to power, so they push it. But he's very much a globalist. And I feel has really caused many of the problems we have in the world. I don't know what you think. Put it in the comments later. What do you think about globalism? I think this is something we're going to have to address in the years to come, and can be a very dangerous and scary thing it's become, I feel. But Blair, if Blair is pushing it, it can't be any good. But I think we do need something like that. That's my thoughts. What do you think? Put your comments in below. Funnily enough, I don't see Russia splitting up. I do ultimately see China splitting up. I've said this before. And we've already, for example, the Uyghur people, that they're in the area of an area of China, sort of to the west of China, kind of next to Tibet. I mean, Tibet's its own country, always has been. You can't pretend it's part of China. That whole area there should be its own nation, just like some of the other I can't remember the name of them now, but some of those countries around that area, they need to be their own nation. And I think China, which is mainly dominated by the Han sort of people, that too will break up ultimately into smaller nations, which I think would be better. But there'd be kind of nations that still have a unity within their diversity, as it were. They'll have a trading and semi-political sort of similar laws that run through each country, but governed separately. I don't really think big is always best. I think it's better when, and same with companies too. When you think about it, things such as big global companies, they don't encourage invention. They go and steal they buy up other companies so that you can have the next artificial intelligence software or the next thing, whatever it might be. That's dangerous. You want something where there's lots of smaller, inventive organizations, and I think it works better with countries, and I think that way also works better with people. That's why I've never been a great lover of Europe, as the European Union as we have at the moment. Okay, quite a lot of questions, and you guys are asking about Canada still too. I see there. I'll have to come back to that. I'm going to finish now though, because I think I don't want to make these too long. I'm going to do a few more, and like I say, watch out for my channels, because I'm going to open some more, I hope, in the next coming months as well. If I want to say a bit more extremist stuff, I can keep it away off YouTube. But this is the main channel to follow, and don't forget, also have a look in the description below, because I also have Jane's got her channel, my wife. If you watch the Craig and Jane show, I might later on move the Craig and Jane show onto a new channel. So go and subscribe to all our channels so that you get updates all the time. And if you really want to help this channel to thrive, do please become a patron of the site, because if you become a patron, that helps us to keep it going. We're trying very hard to get a centre together. We got a few things up our sleeve, but we're doing that out of our own finances. We need some support and help out there, and I know some of you are very keen to help us with the way forward. So I'm going all over the place here, just trying to get back to the right page to do my ending and say goodbye to you all. Now, and I'm going to put up a little video now about my books. So rather than me keep spouting off about how brilliant I am and what the books are like, please go and purchase one of my books, because I talk a lot about the future. I talk a lot about the afterlife and my philosophy there. And I love it when people read it and comment and send me emails about it, and go and have a look. So here we go. Thank you for joining me today. Subscribe and all the rest of it. See you soon. Bye. Well, my latest book is called Be Happy. This is all about my trip to India, particularly to see Sharavana Baba and some of the extraordinary things I discovered there. But it's also a bit of an adventure story as well, because it tells the story of how the Indian oracle, the NAADI, showed me how to save the life of my grandson. So it's a very poignant and very important book to me. And I think you'll enjoy the kind of spiritual adventure of it in some ways, and also some of the uplifting stuff about how to be happy in this somewhat unpleasant world sometimes. So it's quite a hopeful book. It's a book that I think you can learn a lot from if you're into the spiritual path. But this is kind of a third book in a series, actually, because my first book on the NAADI oracle was called Messages from the Universe. So this tells how I went to India and discovered the NAADI, and really I was one of the first Westerners to really stumble upon it and find the real NAADI. It gives you some warnings about the negative stuff as well. And it's also quite autobiographical, because it tells how Jane and I work with Princess Diana, the spirit of Diana. It talks about our work with Doris Stokes. It showed how we developed as people and as mediums, and our backstory as well. So I think you'll enjoy it. If you enjoy watching Jane and myself, I think you'll enjoy the backstory. But particularly the India stuff came into this book. And then I went to India to fulfill what we call the remedies. And this is in my book, Mystic Journey to India, which is the second book in this kind of series of 3 now we get. They kind of link together in a way. They follow on from each other. You can read them independently, of course. And there's also a movie made about this called Mystic Journey to India that you can find on Amazon. And there's links to that in the description below. Now, if you're interested in developing your psychic side, I've written lots of books about psychic development, but this one is probably my best, I feel. It's called Psychic School. It's very popular on Amazon. It teaches you how to become a psychic medium. It teaches what we call evidential mediumship. That is mediumship that gives proof, that can be verified. It really goes very deep. It's a simple, easy to read book, but it goes very deep into the spiritualist principles of developing proper mediumship. And it shows you how to develop form a circle so that you can work within a circle and become really good at your mediumship. So hopefully lots of you will read that and understand where I'm coming from with learning about mediumship. It has a companion book that goes with it too, called Psychic Protection. Both of these again can be read independently. Psychic Protection will tell you all about the other side of mediumistic gifts, things such as ghost hunting, or strange synchronicities, or even the weird stuff like voodoo and strange stuff like that. Lots of intriguing, slightly darker stories in this one, which I think you would enjoy as well. Also, I've written a book about the afterlife itself called What to Do When You're Dead. Now, you might enjoy this. As you can see, the title's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. So there's a few humorous stories in there. It's quite a light read, but it does go very deep as well into the idea of what is the afterlife actually like. What do we experience when we go there? And what do all the cultures and faiths of the world say, and what do they have in common? And of course, my perspective as a medium with lots of stories about mediumship and proofs of life after death. So I think you'd enjoy that one too. Now, with the mainstream publishers, I was best known for my work writing dream books, because I had a number of bestsellers with that. But I've republished them in a book called Your Secret Dream Meanings. And as you can see, this is a pretty substantial book. And I think you will enjoy this one too, particularly if you're into dreams. Not only understanding the meaning of your dreams, but also this gets into the psychic side of dreams, things like lucid dreams, out-of-body experiences in dreams, time shifts and premonitions that come through dreams and so forth, all in here. A very substantial book. I've tried to price it as low as I can for such a big book like this, but I think if you're into dreams and you're into the unconscious, into the idea of, can our intuition open up into another world through dreams? That's another good book for those that enjoy that sort of thing. So there you go. That's it. That's the sale over, guys. But I hope you enjoy it. Like I say, do place a comment and do go and buy them, because you will help support our work and support this channel as well. So thank you very much for joining me. See you soon. Bye for now.